And she got tired of the rat race, sold everything she owned, bought property out in the country, and just pulled her car over right on the edge of the property because it was still solid woods, cleared it by hand some, and built her own log cabin with her own 2 hands. And yes, she actually did it. I didn't help because I was busy building my own house several miles away. But that's a completely different story. Today, we're going to learn about, and she's going to talk about, if you're tired of living in the city, in the rat race, eating the unhealthy food that this modern food system pushes on everybody, and having that feeling where you're just constantly going and going and going and spinning your wheels. We're going to learn about starting your own homestead from Becky Sunshine. So now we're going to bring the Becky Sunshine.
Thanks. Hi, everybody. I'm so glad to be here at the expo, and I think it's a great cause. The school gardens for the children is just so awesome, and I think that'll benefit a lot of kids to give them a chance to, you know, kind of get their hands dirty, get close to nature, and just kind of taste that lifestyle maybe, and hopefully spark something in them that they love that. Is it like too, I sound so loud. I'm already loud, so I don't want to be too loud. I feel like I don't even need a mic, really. Okay. Closer? Yes. Okay. If I'm too loud, it's your fault. Okay, so homesteading is a great lifestyle. It's very healthy. It's close to nature, and it's just a slower pace that's very healthy for you. And, you know, the way you start homesteading really is kind of a mindset. You know, you might just think about it and you feel something inside like, you know, that's for me. I think I might like that. And a lot of times when you're getting these feelings, you're like already, I want to say, in the system. You know, you might have a 9-to-5 job and be paying a mortgage or whatever, but you got to start somewhere. So it basically starts with a mindset, and then it grows from there. And really what I think you have to do to start moving into the homestead lifestyle is you need to like simplify your life, downsize, and you have to organize, because it's very hard to get a new thing going, a new project going, when you're like cluttered, you have too much stuff, and you're kind of just buried in stuff. It's very hard to, you know, just get your thoughts together and move in your new direction. So that's my advice. You know, you have to simplify, downsize, and organize. And then the next thing you have to do is you have to kind of figure out what you feel you want to have on your homestead. And what you can do is you can watch videos on YouTube. So you can watch my channel, Becky's Homestead, on YouTube. Or you can read books. It's really good to read magazines. Like one I liked and I read a lot in the beginning was Countryside magazine, because you can look at pictures and it will just give you ideas. You can like see it. And you can also, you can just stare at the pictures and dream, like, oh, I want to do that someday. And what that'll do is that'll give you motivation and inspiration to like keep going on your journey. So I think that's a really good way to do it, is just to like look at books and stuff. Then you like can more narrow down what you think you want to do on your homestead, like what you're feeling. And there's a lot to choose from. You know, you can do gardening, you can have chickens. A lot of people like sheep and goats, or raise a hog. There's just a lot. There's beekeeping. I mean, really the list goes on and on. There's a lot you can do on your homestead. And also you have to determine the size of the homestead you feel like you can manage. So if you're like a family, you know, you and your husband, you have several kids, and everybody's going to be involved in that, you will definitely have more, you know, work power. So you can probably do more on your homestead. I have a lot of people contact me that are just single, you know, they're just by themselves. Like I run my homestead by myself. So it's doable, but I mean, there's going to be a difference in sizes compared to a family with a lot of help and then just a single person. But you can still do a lot. It just depends what you love. And try not to get too much stuff, because that's easy to do, because you're like, oh, I love this, I want to try that, and I love this, and I want to try that. And then you get it all and you're just like, whoa, this is a lot of work. Like, I can't really handle that. And so your fun kind of becomes a burden. So you don't really want to do that. You want to move along very slowly and get things very slowly. And I also recommend doing a lot of research before you get anything. And like, let's just say for chickens, for example, because people seem to love chickens lately. So like, build your coop first, get everything ready, then go get your chickens. It just makes everything so much smoother and better and less problems. Don't like be shopping and see the chickens and be like, oh, I love chickens, and just bring them home. It'll be a nightmare. And it's easy to do, you know, you kind of like, oh, I have land now, and it's kind of easy to do, you know, like just bring them home. But you'll bring them home, you'll be like, nighttime's coming, you're like, where do I put them now, you know? It's kind of a problem if you do it that way. So I gotta kind of go by my little outline so I don't ramble too much. Okay. Also, if you try something new on your homestead, you just have a project you want to try. I'm going to use the example of me. Like, I wanted dairy goats. I thought I wanted some little Nigerian dairy goats, and that just sounded awesome, because at the time I wanted to get off milk, you know, cow milk. So I went, did all the research, built the pen, blah, 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 brought them home, and they were just adorable. I love animals, so they're really cute. But they're very loud. Mine were loud, and they got very attached to me, and they would just like call me and just like, what? Every time they saw me. So for me, they were a little too noisy, and I had already taken them out and gotten them bred. So, you know, they have to be bred to get the milk. That's how you do it. So they had their little babies, and everybody was healthy and everything. But at that point, I just realized, like, okay, this isn't for me at this point in my life. If I do it again, I'm going to build a goat pen farther away from my cabin, and, you know, just do it a little differently. So what I did is I just, you know, actually I was fortunate to take them back to the breeder I bought them from. So she just, you know, rehomed them, sold them, whatever. But the point is, if you try something and it doesn't work, or you're not feeling it, just, you know, you can get rid of it. You can just, you know, I don't mean get rid of it like dispose of it, but you know what I mean. You can just responsibly just change your mind and take a new direction. That totally works. And then also, I think it's awesome if kids get exposed to homeschooling. I mean, homesteading. I did homeschool too. But homesteading, because I think a lot of kids in schools don't get a chance to go to little farms anymore or homesteads, because there's not that many. So they just don't get a chance to see that. And there's a lot of children that are active and sensitive, and they don't really fit in anywhere. So as adults, I just think it's really good if we can expose kids to homesteading, if we can do that. Because kids that come to my homestead literally cry when it's time to leave. They absolutely love it. Like, I've never had a kid come there and just like stand there and be like, no, I don't want to. They're like running all over, like so happy and interested in everything. And I just think that's a really good option to show children and get them exposed. Because I think personally, there's a lot of future homesteaders out there that are going to like start taking this direction, because people are just tired of the rat race. And that life is not very fulfilling for them. They, you know, it's just all the same, 9 to 5. It's just a grind after a while. And I don't know, I think people lose their passion a lot of times, and they're not outdoors enough. I think it's very, very healthy to be outdoors. And it's a certain pace of life in nature on the homestead. And I just think that's really healthy for people to get back in touch with that. And it does help you just de-stress and just get healthier, you know, fresh air and exercise and all that. It's just very good for you. So that's another thing. And I just think a lot of times there are kids that are like, seem like they don't fit into school well, and they don't fit into that 9 to 5 route of life. And a lot of times they're labeled problem child, you know, problem children and stuff. And really they're not. If they just could work outside and do stuff outside, I think they'd flourish, and just that would be their lifestyle instead of, you know, the ordinary lifestyle that a lot of other people live. So I think that's a really, really important thing that I try to do, is just expose kids to it. So let me just see what else. If anybody has any questions, like if they're like thinking of homesteading or they're kind of on their way, if they have any questions, I would be really happy to answer your questions for you. So don't be shy. Just raise your hands if you have a question and I'll answer it for you. Okay, another part of homesteading I want to talk about is, I don't know if people want to hear like literally what do you do, like step 1 buy land, step 2 whatever. I don't know really what people want to know. Okay. The reason I chose my piece of land is it was a good price. At that time, I did have a house and a mortgage, so really I had to go with something cheap. But I didn't want to just, you know, there's cheap good land and there's cheap lousy land, and it's cheap for a reason. So if you look around, which I did, you know, I didn't just wing it and get the first thing I saw. And I also, at the time, I only had an acre, so I knew I wanted more land and a smaller house. That's what I was going for, so that's what I did, and that's how I chose mine. Also, choosing in a county or a state that's easy to build in, if you plan on building for yourself, is a biggie. As a lot of people learn the hard way sometimes, you know, they'll just be like, oh, I'm gonna buy here, but it's good to do a little research beforehand so you can realize what their building codes are. If they're, you know, some building codes, they're like very strict and they'll make you go by everything perfect. And then there's other states and other areas, they're a little more lenient on that. You know, they're not quite as strict, which if you're building the house yourself, it makes it way easier for you and more doable. Because a lot of homesteaders that build a house aren't like carpenters. You know, it's not, like I wasn't a carpenter when I was like, oh, I want to build a house. So that's why I went really small, because I knew I'm not a carpenter. So it's like if I built a big one, I would have probably never finished that thing, because my house is really small and I'm still working on it, which is fine. I don't mind, because I'm mortgage free. So whatever. It's like a project. It's my little art project. I just live in it while I'm working on it. So you gotta, oh, yes?
So, the land aside, what would be like the base amount of money? I'm assuming you know, you went through what like the well is, the water, the basin.
Yeah. Okay, so where I live is I put well, power, and septic in at first. And so the well is just on my power, has nothing to do with the county, the state, you know, it's just my private well, which to me was a big deal. I like that. A lot of properties you have to hook into the town water, even if you're in the country. Surprisingly, they will run those pipes way out there. So for me, that was a big deal. I would love to be solar someday, and that's like a goal of mine, to be a little more, you know, self-sustaining. And I always say I'll just have my refrigerator practically running on solar, and I could be happy with that, you know. But so I went with a local person. I think that's the easiest way. I found somebody local that had been there. His father ran the company, and then he got the company. Because a lot of times if you're moving to a small town, which that's what I wanted, because I wanted really quiet, small town, it's a good old boys kind of system. And if you're like, hey, I'm coming from the city, I'm moving to your little town, and I'm gonna do this and you're gonna do that, people aren't that friendly. They're kind of like, whoa. So it's a good move to go with a local person, because they're like, yeah, I'll just call in the permits. Like they don't even have to go in there and deal with the people. They're so connected. So that is a really smart, good move to speed things along and not have a headache. So you just pay somebody local to do it. It's probably cheaper and easier and faster. So, and the same with the septic. You know, I have a septic, so they put that in as well. So, and then I have the smallest septic put in. Oh, another question? Oh, yes. Whenever I feel like it. That's the good part. Did you say when does my day start and when does it end? Yeah, whenever I feel like it. That's a good thing. You're free, you know. I don't have to answer to anybody. And that is like the best ever. You know what I mean? It's so hard when you work, and I've worked in my life and had jobs and had to be there and punch the time clock, so to speak, and it's just awful. You know, it's just so good to own yourself, I guess you can put it that way. It feels good. So, you know, if you have animals, your animals to feed your animals are kind of on a schedule. You know, if I like waited too long, they'd all be up on my porch, knocking on the door, kind of like, get out here. But you know, it's not as strict as a boss. Let's just put, they're way nicer than a boss is. If I'm a little late, they don't care. Or if I'm a little early, they're happy to see me early, whichever way. So it is a lot of work though. You know, it's a lot of physical work. You know, if you have to like physical work to run a homestead. But I personally love physical work. I just love working outside. I don't know, just like so awesome to me. You know, I guess everybody has to just evaluate themselves and see what they like to do. You know, if you like to be out in the sunshine and, you know, just out in the fresh air, and if you like to make things and you like to be outside, you're probably a homesteader. You just don't know it yet, because that is kind of what your life is. You know, if you're not actually building something, maybe down the road you're repairing it, and you have to be self-motivated. You know, you're your own boss, so you know you can't sit on the sofa all day and be like, oh, I gotta fix the fence, because you know the horses will be down the road. You gotta do it yourself. Get up and fix it. You know, that's the beautiful thing about homesteading, is everybody can be different. You could, if I was forced on a half acre, I could homestead on a half acre. Of course, I wouldn't have my animals, you know, my big animals, but you can do so much. Like you can do gardens, fruit trees, nut trees, berry bushes. You could do beehives. There's just so much you could do. You know, you can do stuff inside. You could make homemade soap and bread and just cook healthy. And if your place is little, but you're like, have your garden going awesome, then you could like barter with your friend who's a homesteader and get eggs or something, or goat milk. I mean, it's really, really enriching that way, because you get to know other people that are homesteaders. And so it's just so fun to go to their house and see what they're up to, what they got going on, and you know, trade and barter. It works out really good. Like it's kind of a fulfilling lifestyle in that sense too, socially. So you can have, if I lived in the city with a balcony, I think I would just be exploding with plants and vegetables out there. You gotta just do whatever you can. If you can't move, just do what you can where you are. You know, it's still better than nothing. That's what you have to try to do, you know. And then if you can arrange your affairs so you can move into a bigger place when the time comes, and just jump on it, just do it. Just like that. You know, it's just like, it's kind of simple. It might sound complicated, but it's really that simple, you know. It's simple and fun, so I just try to do it. Yes. Okay, I'm a crazy animal lady because I love animals so much, but they're all comfortable with enough room. So I have a mule and a donkey and a pony, a draft pony, and I have a cool cat that keeps all the squirrels out of my log cabin, because squirrels and everything, mice, love log cabins. It's like a little wooden box, and they're like, yay, let me move in there. So I have my cool cat that takes care of that. I have chickens, I have a couple ducks, which she just has 13 eggs in a nest when I left to come here, and she wasn't sitting yet. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this duck is gonna hatch out 16 ducks. I'm like, well, I don't know what I'm gonna do with them all. So we'll see when I get home. So I have some chickens too, and I also have a hen sitting on, I think she has 6 eggs when I left, so she's gonna hatch out her little babies. I have a pet potbelly pig, Neil, and then I have my tortoise, who's my roommate inside that I live with, Daisy. She's so cute. And she comes when I call her. Like if I let her loose in my house and she's like in the other room, I'll be like, Daisy! And like, she's very slow because tortoises are slow, but like pretty soon, here she comes. And I'm just like, oh, she comes when I call her. I'm like, she's so smart. And then I have, I'm trying to think what else I have. I can't even think right now. Oh yeah, I have my guinea, which is a crazy guinea hen. And she got so attached to me, like she'll go in the house with me. When I go out to feed the cats or the cat comes in and the door's open, she like tries to like come in the house. So I'm like, I'm gonna see if this crazy guinea hen comes in the house. And she does, so she's so friendly. The animals are a really, really good part of homesteading because they're like almost better to hang out with than with people, although I love people too, but they're just so fun. They're like always there for you. They're always like doing some little funny antics that'll give you a giggle during the day, and animals are good. So I think gardening's good too, but I think you gotta have a few animals too, just to get some joy and humor in your life. Plus, it's very healthy to take care of animals. That's another thing. If you go back to the children, maybe if they wanted to label them problem children or whatever, I think they're just lost children basically. But once they get taking care of the animal, and then the animal kind of looks to them for the food and a little bit of love, they're just a little bond develops there, and I just think that's really, really good for kids, and they just learn responsibility, and they'll learn a little bit of compassion because they'll worry about their little pet animal, and I just think that's super, super healthy for them to teach compassion. And we all know, like, the more compassion, the better everything is, if everybody cares about everybody else and everybody's like nice to everybody else. So you can teach your kids to be nice through your animals and how to treat something right and just, take care of it. So animals are really good for that aspect too, for children as well as adults though. So adults. Yes?
Do you water reach your property or do anything prior to buying it to make sure that you have water?
No, I didn't do that. I would recommend to anybody to investigate that to make sure the property has water. I have considered land and then investigated if it has good water, and when it doesn't, I split. I don't even consider it. That's like a deal breaker for me. So I knew my area had, a way. How you can do that is to see if the neighbors in the area all have good wells. And then, of course, if you're on city water, you might find a piece of property that you absolutely love and it's just going to work so perfectly, but it's on city water. You could still do that. You can make it work, and then you wouldn't have to worry about that. But not every place even lets you have your own private well. That is something you would have to look into with the county. And when anybody that's considering homesteading and that, finds a piece of land or they're in that phase, definitely you have to talk to the county a lot, and ask all those questions and look it up and investigate. That's the kind of stuff that's a big deal and later comes back to bite you in the butt. If, you're like, oh, you have your big farm planned out, because I like to plan it out beforehand, like where I'm going to put stuff and be very organized and efficient. And then, pretty soon you're like, oh, there's an easement through your property that you didn't know about, or somebody now moved behind there and they're going to be using that. So there's a lot of stuff you have to consider and look into before you actually lay your cash down for that land. That's because like I said, those are all big deals, it's very hard then, and what a pain and a nightmare to try to resell that piece of property or whatever, so really investigate and ask a lot of questions before you actually choose your piece of property, whether it's big or small, whatever. Got to check it out first. But there's a lot of land out there. A lot of people, that is the biggest deal, the biggest step is, where am I going to find land? How do I find land? The most people, that is one of the questions I get the most. And really what it is you just have to look. Don't rush. Just turn into an explorer. I always say turn into Christopher Columbus. Just have that exploring gene in you and just let that out and just keep your eyes peeled, and if you see a sign, something's for sale, like jump out of your car and check it out, write down the address, call the number. You just have to be in that kind of a mindset to find your land. Yes?
Did you do soil surveys or anything like that?
No. No, I didn't. I live in Florida, and the soil survey is sand. That's the soil survey in Florida. Sand. Deep, deep. You can dig and dig and dig, and it's the same. It's sand. So for me, I have to do container gardening, and then just, have a compost and build up soil, or try to buy soil too, or whatever. However you can do it. It's actually a little hard to garden in Florida. It's doable though. Here's what happened to me this year. I'm like, I built some container boxes, and I actually bought some dirt and put some manure in it, and I'm like, yay, I'm gonna get, a pretty decent garden, because I was very busy the last couple of years and I didn't really garden too much. And I'm like, I'm gonna start a compost. So I got this compost going, and I was just throwing stuff in the compost. Like, I wasn't even caring. It was like a lasagna garden. And so I actually bought little baby plants too for my container gardens, because I didn't have a chance to do it with the seeds. So I plant those, and I'm just focusing all on this. I'm just like, I'm watering it. Meanwhile, the compost just goes and explodes with butternut squash. And it grew, I'm not even kidding, from here over to that wall. It was just butternut squash. And my other gardeners because I'm so busy, I didn't pay enough attention to it, I think, or I paid too much attention to it. I don't know which one, but it was dying. And meanwhile, I'm not touching that squash. That squash is good. It's happy. And it's I know enough. If something's going good, don't touch it, because otherwise you'll ruin it. And I just been eating awesome butternut squash all summer. It's just, I did just finish up, and I'm almost it's I miss my squash. So hopefully next year the same thing happens. I'm still throwing stuff over there, so maybe that's gonna be a little sweet spot. I can grow stuff. So that's the way it works on a homestead. It's kind of funny. Yes? Well, I don't say where I live. I don't want to be mean or rude, but I have so many people contact me to can we come over? And I'm like, no, you can't. My potatoes? Well, I have grown potatoes in the past, and when I do them in the tower, I do this little potato tower thing. I made a video of it. I do great with that. That really works great for me, the potato tower. Because like I said, Florida's so sandy. I did try doing it in the ground with a trench and stuff, and it just didn't work at all. I got nothing. So for me to be successful, I got to do a potato tower, which are very easy to make and very easy to do. Yeah. Well, my neighbors are all you can't see them. If I'm standing on my porch right here, all you see is pure woods all the way around me. But I do live on a little dirt road, and I do have neighbors on my road. But everybody has big pieces of property, 2 acres or whatever. And so it's also their houses are back off. You know what I mean? So we can't really see each other very much. And I don't know. They probably the one they hear the most is probably my donkey Doodles when Doodles gets going. But well, being in pure woods, there's definitely predators, and all your animals know when something's lurking over there in the woods. Especially the mule and the donkey, which are kind of guardian angels, guardian animals, and they'll be looking over there. But I always have a good farm dog, and really what the farm dog does, if you're really good to your dog and you love it and pet it and you get a great bond, it will protect your property, and it'll keep all the animals on the perimeter. They won't come into the homestead because the dogs will chase them out. You know what I mean? So I personally don't have a big problem with predators because of that, because of my donkey and my mule and my farm dogs. But some people might not be able to have all those things that I have, and so if you're in that situation, you just have to build good pens and good chicken coops. That's the only way to protect your stuff, especially if you have to leave to go to work or whatever. You just have, your chicken coop, you just have to build a really good one. And that's what's going to protect your chickens. If you're home for the afternoon or whatever, and you want to let them out to free range, you can. But they got to basically live in a good, big, nice coop. That's just what you have to do, or you'll lose stuff for sure. Because wild animals are tough, smart, and cunning. Pet animals are spoiled, fat, and lazy. So there's like no competition. You know what I mean? That's why you have to protect them. This is the way it is, you know. But I don't. Some people will shoot the wild animals. They'll be all mad. I don't. I love nature. I don't hate the raccoon for being a raccoon. You know. I don't hate the hawk for being a hawk and wanting a chicken. You know. You can just protect them. That's all. All right then. So I think I'm. Oh, another question. Okay.
Is your homestead income generating, or do you primarily do trade in terms of newer products that you produce?
Well, my homestead, what I do is I have like kind of like my son and I have a business. It's kind of like a little multimedia company, but it is all based around my homestead and teaching people about homesteading. You know, I've written a few books and I do a few videos for different places and speaking engagements and then sponsorships, stuff like that, because just homesteading is my passion. And I just know there's so many more homesteaders out there that just need a little nudge to do it, and they're just going to be off on the homestead road. And just the more we are, the better. It's like, yay! So basically, that's just my mission in life right now, is trying to get more homesteaders in this world. So I hope you become one, or you are one. To any degree, right? It doesn't matter what degree, small or large, just whatever you can do. So, okay, well, I want to thank everybody for coming out here, and I hope you learned a little something. Thank you.